folks, Harold over here. Want to do a little midwinter update on how things are storing in our root cellar. If you hear some clanging and banging in the background, I apologize. We do have some neighbors up the hill from us who are building a house, so that's noise I'm not in control of. Anyway, if you saw our look when we put potatoes into this cellar last fall, this was an old well pit. It was existing here when we bought our property, had been abandoned for, we can't find the oldest 80-something-year-old neighbors in the area who have any memory of who originally put this here. It had a collapsed-in lid at the time. It was full of dead rodents and such that had fallen in. Clay cleaned it all out, built it a nice solid lid, and we are now using it as our root cellar. I just cleaned the snow off it. We had about another foot here the last couple days, a little more snow today. This little plywood scrap just sits right here to protect the thermostat, which is currently telling me it's 35.2 degrees in there and 99% humidity, which is about exactly what we want for root storage of crops. So I'm going to show you what things are looking like down in there and show you how the vents on this work, because I think in the initial video I described them but didn't actually show them. And the dogs and cats can all walk on top of it. So this is the exit vent, if my cat doesn't put her face right in the way. Right in front of Button's face is a pipe that's still half covered in snow that comes up out of the cellar and vents right here. The intake corner is a little easier for me to get to because it's toward the front. These are in opposite corners, and it has the same thing. This bag we had put over a couple of the times. It's just a Ziploc bag rubber banded on there. That it got to well below zero, minus 20s, minus 30s. It was in the minus 20s again just a couple days ago. I hadn't taken the bag off since. That was because I wanted no more cold air to circulate down through there, because I didn't really want it getting colder than 35 degrees. At times it got, on the last really cold spill, down to 34, which is totally fine. Just don't want it going below that because we're not trying to freeze our potatoes. That would destroy them. Anyway, without the bag on there, you can see there's just a mesh kind of banded onto here so that no rodents and such could crawl in that vent. That's a 2-inch PVC pipe, and it just comes up out of the lid here and circles around. Now this one on the other end goes clear down to the floor inside, and the upper vent comes just to the ceiling inside and then comes out the other corner that I showed you first. We don't shovel this lid out that often because we get a whole crate of veggies out at a time and keep them in the shop and use them from there. And I'm actually not getting anything out today. I just wanted to do an update and show you guys how things are stored. So this lid, sounds like we got that whole duck flock coming over to join us. This lid just lifts straight up like that. It's insulated, as you could probably see, with a couple layers of styrofoam. And now I'm going to head down in. Come down in here, and as you can see when I stand on the floor, it's just tall enough that I can reach the ceiling in here. The floor is just dirt with a layer of gravel on it to kind of keep it clean, and the walls that very, very old concrete that somebody built this little thing out of a long, long time ago. So let's check out how the veggies are doing in here. This is the ladder Clay made down in here. If you notice the bucket of charcoal, there's one in that corner and one in this corner. We did that just to absorb any remaining odors that might have remained down here from when there was a lot of junk that had been cleaned out. Before I forget, I will show you that is the inside of the upper vent. This round hole right there is what goes out, and as you can see, some cold air leaks around it and forms some frost right here down the concrete. And the other one comes through the other corner, and instead of being open there, it goes the whole way to under this little block shelf that keeps things from sitting on the floor. And it's back under there in the dark where you can't really see it. There is a exit to that vent. So that keeps air circulating through here so there's not a buildup of gases, because vegetables actually breathe when they're in storage. So these are how the potatoes are looking. This is a crate of all Huckleberry Golds. They're golden flesh on the outside, purple on the inside. They're super crispy feeling, not shrivelly at all, not sprouty. There is no light in here at all when that hatch is sealed. It's a little unnerving if you're down in here. Usually if we're going to get a crate of potatoes out, Clay and I'll do this together. I'll grab it, hand it up to him. You can get out by yourself. It's just easier with two people. And if somebody closes the hatch on you while you're down here, it is the blackest blackout you've ever seen. So anyway, no sprouting. This crate is all Kennebecs. They're looking really good. This crate is Pontiac Reds, also looking good. And these are Yukon Golds, also looking really good. In the straw here, we have a little experiment going with carrots buried in it. So the top layer of carrots, this is a cosmic purple, that would be orange inside. Feels pretty crispy. And if I go down a little deeper, there's an orange one from down deeper. It feels pretty good, not quite like the day it was dug, but not far off. I think if we used wet sand, they would keep even better. But I'm fairly happy with how the straw is preserving them, because it is now getting toward the end of February, and these were dug like 5 months ago and are doing quite well. The other experiment we've got going on is some beets. These are golden beets on top. They're getting a little bit rubbery. And I have some other colors of beets further down in there. I think these would also be better packed in sand. I just didn't do that. These are still edible, but they're definitely getting a little soft on the surface. So that's, and the further down in here I go, the crispier they are still, because there's the most air exchange on the surface of this crate, which is why there's a piece of cardboard over it. But I think they would preserve better packed in moist sand as well. So maybe next year we will try that. This is our first year experimenting with our root cellar. Clay made this ladder to just be left in here, but it can tip out of the way if I want to get to something more easily on the other side. We have avoided setting any of the crates of food directly on the floor, just so there's no condensation right on the bottom of them. But otherwise, the very high humidity in here is something I actually want, again, for root crops. This would not be good storage for things that like to be dry, but for things that like to be wet, this is perfect. The last crate I pulled out of here into the shop and made some meals with, it was pretty incredible how crispy and crunchy the potatoes were when I sliced them. They felt like ones that have just been dug out of the garden, despite the fact that it has been months and months and months since that was true. Even though I've stored potatoes through the winter, every winter, I didn't have this ideal of storage conditions for them. So by this time of year, they were getting a little bit soft, a little bit rubbery, etc. So this has just really worked out to be very ideal. I feel very blessed that we had this old concrete pit here and could make use of it this way. Potatoes are one of our main starches that we grow here, because in our cold zone 3, 8 months of winter climate, they're the easiest starchy thing for us to grow. So we do eat a lot of potatoes through the course of the year. And that's how they're storing. Like I said, like I showed you, no sprouting, no shriveling, no nothing. I think with some slightly better packing, I can get beets and carrots to store down here phenomenally as well. And this is just really exciting to have this space, to have it be working so well. If you're looking at this, this little probe that outside thermometer goes up to, that just lets us kind of check what's going on in here without having to open the lid, which we try not to open the lid if it's, minus 20 degrees outside, so all that really cold air doesn't fall down in. But otherwise, it's been perfect. We want the temperature to be just above freezing, and that's what it stayed at, and very high humidity, and that's maintained by the moisture just breathing out of the soil under here and even to some degree through the concrete walls. They don't feel wet, but they feel cool and slightly damp. And so it's just been the perfect environment for storing root crops like this. Now you could do a similar thing in if you have like a basement stairwell in your house, depending on your climate, like under a deck if it's protected somewhere from rodents. Like I said, the only way to get in here is through those two vents, and we have that wire screen over it so that a rodent can't crawl down in here and happily go to munching on potatoes for the winter. There's all kinds of little cool, damp areas you could come up with, possibly in a garage or shed, if you don't get as cold as us, where it would actually freeze solid, because, to be clear, potatoes will be destroyed and turned to, like, slimy mush if they freeze. But right down to freezing, so like 34 degrees and high humidity, that is what is perfect for them, and it's so exciting to see that they are indeed storing perfectly in here. Button thinks she wants to jump in here and join me, but I'm done in here, so I'm coming out. Close the lid, cover up my thermometer with my little temporary prop, and we are done. Like I said, this is not like a chore that we do every day or anything like that. It's only the third or fourth time now this winter that I've actually been down there, because we do pull a full crate of something out at once and use it over the next several weeks for various meals before getting in again to get another full crate. So we don't have to come out here all the time, but it has been, I am so happy with the way it has been working, and a root cellar is something I've wanted for much of my life, and I'm really excited to have one, and it's worked fabulously so far to store roots.
Thank you everyone for watching. It means a lot, and I hope you learned something along the way.
If you know somebody else who would enjoy this as well, share it with them.